There is a power that needs no announcement. It walks into the room before words arrive. It does not argue, explain, or defend itself. It stands still, rooted in certainty, and the world rearranges around it. This power is born in silence. When you know who you are, you do not rush to speak. Speech is often the refuge of doubt. Silence is the companion of faith. The one who trusts the unseen does not beg to be seen. The one who understands their worth does not advertise it. They let life speak on their behalf. Silence is not weakness. Silence is direction. It is the calm of one who knows the law is working, even when nothing appears to move. The quiet mind is a commanding mind. Fear cannot rest where certainty lives. Confusion cannot survive where purpose is settled. Many speak to be believed. Few are believed because they do not first believe themselves. When you speak from need, your words tremble. When you are silent from knowing, your presence settles the room. People feel what you expect. Life mirrors the attitude you hold within. Say nothing when provoked. Reaction feeds disorder. Silence starves it. Say nothing when doubted. Truth does not argue. It demonstrates. Say nothing when success is forming. Seeds grow in darkness, not in noise. There is a divine intelligence that moves faster when you stop interfering with fear-filled speech. Every unnecessary word is an instruction. Choose your instructions wisely. Speak only what you wish multiplied. When you cannot speak from faith, remain still. Respect is never demanded. It is assumed inwardly and reflected outwardly. Fear bows not to loudness but to certainty. The quiet soul that knows its direction terrifies confusion. The disciplined mind intimidates chaos. Stand in silence and know. Know that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Know that what resists you is rearranging to serve you. Know that no explanation is required when your inner world is aligned. Silence is power when it comes from certainty, not fear. There is a vast difference between holding one's tongue because of doubt and choosing quiet because nothing needs to be proven. Fearful silence shrinks inward, hoping to avoid notice, while certain silence expands outward, filling space without effort. The universe responds not to noise, but to conviction. When conviction is present, words become optional. The soul that knows its direction does not rush to announce it, because it trusts the unseen forces already at work. Certainty is an inner agreement with truth. It is the moment when questioning ends and knowing begins. From this state, silence becomes natural. There is no impulse to convince, correct, or compete. Energy is conserved, not scattered. Power gathers where attention is undivided. Every unnecessary word leaks energy, while silence seals it. When a person speaks from fear, they are unconsciously asking for permission, approval, or reassurance. When a person remains silent from certainty, they are issuing an unspoken command that life must comply. The mind trained in certainty understands that explanation weakens authority, justification signals doubt, defense implies vulnerability. The one who knows stands still. They allow others to reveal themselves through their reactions. Silence becomes a mirror, and people project their intentions onto it. Fear exposes itself in the presence of quiet confidence. Those who seek control grow uncomfortable when there is nothing to push against. The still one cannot be moved because they are not reacting. There is a spiritual law at work in silence. What is held firmly in consciousness does not require repetition. Repetition is for what is not yet believed. Affirmation is powerful, but only when it arises from belief, not desperation. When belief is complete, affirmation turns into quiet expectancy. Expectancy is the soil in which outcomes grow. Silence protects expectancy from contamination by doubt, opinions, and external noise. Fear speaks quickly. It rushes to fill space. It interrupts, explains, overpromises, and defends. Certainty moves slowly and deliberately. It listens more than it speaks. It waits, knowing timing is an ally. In this waiting, power accumulates. The calm mind sees clearly while the noisy mind misses opportunities hidden in plain sight. Silence sharpens perception. It allows intuition to rise above mental chatter. Guidance becomes audible only when the inner room is quiet. When certainty lives within, reactions lose their grip. Insults fall flat. Provocations dissolve. Challenges are observed, not absorbed. Silence becomes a shield, not a wall. It does not block life. It filters it. Only what aligns with inner knowing is allowed to enter. This selective engagement creates an aura of authority. People feel boundaries without them being spoken. Respect forms naturally around those who do not overextend their words. The silent, certain individual understands that outcomes speak louder than intentions. They trust the law of cause and effect. What is impressed upon consciousness must express itself in form. There is no need to rush the process with anxious speech. Silence allows the law to operate without interference. Just as muddy water clears when left undisturbed, situations resolve themselves when fear stops stirring them. Certainty also frees a person from the need to be understood. Being misunderstood no longer threatens identity. Identity is rooted too deeply to be shaken by opinion. Silence becomes a declaration of self-sufficiency. It says without saying that validation is internal. This internal validation creates external stability. People sense it and respond accordingly, often without knowing why. In moments of conflict, silence reveals mastery. The one who controls their response controls the situation. Words spoken in reaction often create consequences that must later be repaired. Silence prevents unnecessary battles. It allows time for the higher solution to appear. Many victories are won by those who refuse to speak at the wrong moment. The universe rearranges circumstances when given space to do so. Certainty-based silence is not passive. It is active trust. It is a conscious withdrawal from lower frequencies. It is the refusal to engage in chaos. This refusal is powerful. Chaos cannot sustain itself without participation. When you do not feed it with words, it collapses under its own weight. Silence starves what seeks attention and strengthens what seeks order. The disciplined mind learns when to speak and when to remain still. Speech becomes intentional, not habitual. Words are chosen like tools, used only when they serve a clear purpose. This restraint gives words weight. When the certain individual finally speaks, their words land with force because they are rare and precise. Silence has prepared the ground. Certainty transforms silence into presence. Presence is felt, not heard. It enters rooms ahead of the body. It shifts dynamics without effort. People listen more closely to those who do not constantly speak. They lean in. They sense depth. Silence suggests substance. It implies that something valuable is being protected. Fear-based silence hides. Certainty-based silence reveals. It reveals strength, stability, and self-command. It communicates that the inner world is ordered, and therefore the outer world must follow. Life mirrors inner order faithfully. When the mind is settled, circumstances settle. When the heart is anchored, outcomes align. The individual who masters this silence understands that not every thought deserves expression. Thoughts pass like clouds, but truth remains. Silence allows truth to rise above transient emotion. It creates distance between impulse and action. In that distance, wisdom lives. Decisions made from this space carry fewer regrets and greater impact. Certainty grows stronger the more it is practiced. Each time silence is chosen over reaction, inner authority expands. Each time fear is denied expression, it weakens. Over time, silence becomes effortless. It is no longer a strategy but a state of being. The individual moves through life with calm assurance, untouched by urgency. This silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the quiet of one who knows the law is exact and unfailing. It is the rest that comes after planting before harvest. It is the pause that allows momentum to build. In this pause, power consolidates, direction clarifies, and fear finds no place to attach itself. Presence commands respect more than words ever can. Long before a single sentence is spoken, energy has already communicated. People feel intention, self-belief, and inner order instantly. Words arrive later, often unnecessary. Presence is the language of alignment. It is the natural expression of someone who is settled within themselves and therefore unsettles confusion around them. When presence is strong, explanations feel excessive and persuasion feels irrelevant. Presence is not created by posture or tone alone, though the body often reflects it. It is created by inner agreement. When the mind, heart, and expectation move in the same direction, presence forms effortlessly. There is no inner conflict leaking outward. No apology exists in the energy field. The person is not trying to be impressive, convincing, or likable. They are simply there, whole and undivided. This wholeness is felt immediately. Respect is a response, not a request. It emerges when people sense boundaries that do not need reinforcement. The individual who respects themselves inwardly never needs to demand respect outwardly. Their stillness establishes the terms of interaction. Others adjust automatically. They lower their voice, choose their words more carefully, and become aware of their behavior. This happens not through intimidation, but through certainty. Words are often used to compensate for the absence of presence. Excessive talking attempts to fill a perceived void. When presence is absent, speech becomes frantic, repetitive, or defensive. The listener feels this imbalance, even if they cannot explain it. Presence, on the other hand, fills the space before speech begins. Silence becomes comfortable rather than awkward. Attention is held without effort. Presence comes from clarity. Clarity about one's direction, values, and expectations. A person who knows what they will tolerate and what they will not does not waver. That knowing radiates outward. Confusion senses it and retreats. Manipulation fails in its proximity. Presence simplifies interactions because it removes ambiguity. People know where they stand without being told. The power of presence is closely tied to self-trust. When you trust yourself, you do not rush to speak. You listen fully. You allow pauses. You do not interrupt life's rhythm. This patience signals confidence. It suggests that time is on your side. Urgency disappears. The absence of urgency is deeply commanding because it implies security. Presence also grows from inner silence. A noisy mind cannot project authority. Inner dialogue spills into outer behavior. Restlessness becomes visible. But when the inner world is quiet, attention sharpens. Every movement becomes intentional. Even stillness becomes expressive. The body relaxes, the gaze steadies, and energy settles. Others feel this grounding and respond with attentiveness. There is a spiritual quality to presence. It is alignment with a higher order. When someone is aligned, they are not scattered across fears, memories, or imagined futures. They are anchored in the now. This anchoring creates weight. Words spoken from this state carry substance. Even a few words can redirect an entire conversation. Silence from this state can end conflict without confrontation. Presence commands respect because it does not compete. Competition reveals insecurity. Presence has no rival because it is self-contained. It does not compare, explain, or justify. It simply occupies space fully. This fullness leaves no room for disrespect to take hold. People sense that crossing certain boundaries would be futile. Many attempt to gain respect through volume, aggression, or dominance. These are substitutes for presence. They may create fear temporarily, but they erode respect. Presence creates both without effort. Fear arises not from threat but from the unknown. The calm, self-contained individual cannot be easily predicted or manipulated. This unpredictability, grounded in stability, creates unease and disorder. Presence is also cultivated through consistency. When actions align with inner values repeatedly, trust builds, both internally and externally. Others learn that what you project is reliable. Reliability strengthens presence. It tells the world that you are not reactive, not easily swayed, and not dependent on circumstance for stability. The individual with presence understands that not every moment requires expression. Silence becomes a strategic ally. Pauses allow truth to surface. They allow others to reveal more than they intend. Presence listens more than it speaks. This listening is not passive. It is alert, discerning, and observant. Information gathered in silence becomes power when action is required. Presence also reshapes how opposition behaves. Aggression softens. Provocation loses momentum. Attempts to dominate fall flat. This is because presence does not provide resistance. What is not resisted often dissolves. The calm field neutralizes excess energy. People feel seen without being challenged and challenged without being attacked. There is a refinement to presence that develops over time. Early attempts may feel deliberate, but eventually it becomes natural. The individual no longer thinks about commanding respect. They simply live from alignment. Respect follows as a byproduct. This effortless authority is the highest form of influence. Presence teaches restraint. Restraint amplifies power. When you could speak but choose not to, when you could react but remain still, when you could assert but simply observe, strength accumulates. This accumulation is felt. People respond to it instinctively. The world is crowded with voices. Few stand out because few are anchored. Presence cuts through noise without adding to it. It creates contrast. In a loud environment, quiet becomes magnetic. In chaos, order becomes striking. This contrast draws attention and commands respect naturally. Presence is not about control over others. It is mastery of self. Self-mastery radiates outward. The one who governs their inner world governs their external experience. Words become optional tools rather than compulsions. Silence becomes expressive. Stillness becomes influential. When sense is established, fear has no place to attach itself. Fear feeds on instability. Presence is stable. It does not waver with opinion or circumstance. It holds its ground without effort. From this groundedness, respect arises naturally, consistently, and without demand. Inner alignment eliminates the need for explanation. When the inner world is ordered, the outer world receives clear instruction without confusion. Alignment is the quiet agreement between thought, belief, and expectation. Nothing pulls in opposite directions. There is no inner debate leaking into behavior. From this state, action becomes clean and simple, and silence becomes more powerful than justification. Most explanations are attempts to resolve inner conflict externally. When a person is unsure within, they seek reassurance without. They explain themselves repeatedly, hoping words will settle what belief has not. But words cannot substitute alignment. When alignment is present, there is nothing to clarify. Decisions feel final because they were already settled inwardly before being expressed outwardly. Alignment creates coherence. Coherence is felt immediately. People sense when someone is not divided within themselves. This coherence produces trust. Trust removes questions. When others feel your certainty, they stop demanding explanations. They may not agree, but they recognize stability. Stability commands acceptance even in disagreement. The aligned individual understands that life responds to inner direction, not outer noise. When belief is firm, circumstances rearrange without persuasion. Explanation is unnecessary because outcomes validate choices. Results speak with authority. The law of cause and effect operates precisely when not disrupted by doubt-filled dialogue. Inner alignment also removes the urge to defend. Defense implies vulnerability. When identity is rooted in inner truth, it cannot be threatened by misunderstanding. Misinterpretation loses power. Silence replaces argument. The aligned person allows others to hold their opinions without attempting correction. This non-resistance often disarms opposition more effectively than debate. When thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, energy flows without obstruction. There is no leakage through anxiety, overthinking, or people-pleasing. This conserved energy strengthens presence. It sharpens intuition. Guidance becomes clear. The person moves decisively without needing consensus. This decisiveness reduces friction. Life responds more smoothly to clear signals. Alignment simplifies communication. Fewer words are needed because intention is concentrated. Even brief statements carry weight. Sometimes no statement is required at all. A look, a pause, or a simple action communicates more than paragraphs of explanation. Alignment compresses meaning. It distills complexity into clarity. The need to explain often arises from fear of being misunderstood. Alignment dissolves this fear. Being misunderstood, Noel. Anger threatens identity. Identity is anchored internally. The aligned individual knows who they are and where they are going. External perception becomes secondary. This independence creates freedom. Freedom creates authority. Inner alignment also reshapes timing. The aligned person does not rush. They trust the sequence of events. They know when to act and when to wait. Waiting is not passive, it is purposeful. It allows unseen forces to coordinate. Explanation interrupts this coordination. Silence preserves it. Alignment is maintained through conscious selection of thoughts. Thoughts are chosen, not indulged. The aligned mind does not entertain contradictions. It dismisses ideas that oppose its direction. This discipline prevents internal chaos. External chaos loses its grip when it finds no echo inside. When alignment is strong, reactions fade. Reaction belongs to misalignment. It is the collision of opposing inner states. Alignment creates response instead of reaction. Response is measured, intentional, and often minimal. Sometimes the most aligned response is no response at all. Silence communicates completion. The aligned individual trusts the intelligence governing life. This trust removes the need to control outcomes through explanation. Control is replaced with cooperation. Cooperation allows greater results with less effort. Life meets clarity with cooperation. Confusion meets resistance. Alignment also protects boundaries effortlessly. Boundaries do not need to be announced when energy is firm. People sense where not to cross. Attempts to overstep feel uncomfortable to them. This invisible boundary is stronger than verbal enforcement. Explanation weakens boundaries by inviting negotiation. Alignment closes negotiation before it begins. When inner alignment is present, authenticity emerges naturally. There is no performance, no role-playing, no adjustment for approval. Authenticity creates resonance. Resonance attracts what is compatible and repels what is not. This sorting happens without explanation. Life organizes itself around alignment. The aligned person understands that silence is not avoidance, it is completion. It signals that a decision has been made inwardly. There is nothing left to discuss. This finality carries weight. People sense it and move accordingly. Alignment also dissolves guilt. Guilt arises from acting against inner truth. When actions match belief, guilt has no foundation. Without guilt, explanations lose urgency. There is no inner accusation demanding defense. Peace replaces justification. Inner alignment sharpens self-respect. Self-respect changes behavior automatically. It alters posture, tone, and timing. These subtle changes communicate authority without words. Respect from others follows self-respect. Explanation becomes redundant. The aligned mind recognizes that not everyone needs to understand. Understanding is not a prerequisite for respect. Alignment commands respect through consistency and clarity. Over time, patterns become visible. People see that aligned individuals do not waver. Trust deepens. Alignment allows detachment from outcomes. Detachment is not indifference, it is confidence. Confidence that whatever unfolds is part of a larger order. This confidence reduces the impulse to interfere with speech. Silence honors the process. When alignment becomes habitual, life feels simpler. Decisions feel lighter. Interactions feel cleaner. The urge to overcommunicate fades. Words become precise. Silence becomes comfortable. The individual moves through situations without friction, guided by an inner compass that does not require translation.